On today's episode, we're going to be talking about saving. So, a question that I get a lot is how do I start saving? When's the right time to save? If you follow Dave Ramsey's plan, he does not want you to save beyond $1,000 emergency fund, and then everything else goes to debt. I have a little bit of a different feeling about that. I think it's appropriate to pay off your debt, obviously. I mean, I think that's a great thing. I mean, he has led so many people to living debt free. It's incredible. And the freedom that they have now is just, it's amazing. However, I think that there are some ways that you could save ahead of time while you're paying off your debt. I think it's important for me, especially. So, what I have is I have a situation where I am paying, there are certain things that I need to pay every year, and unfortunately, they won't let me make monthly payments on them. It's for my insurance. They'll only allow an annual payment. So that's the hard part is you have to save for that every month, knowing that a big chunk of cash is going to come out at the end of the year. So one thing that I would ask you about your business is, do you currently have any debt? And if the answer is yes, then the goal is to get that paid off as soon as possible. So you can follow kind of a modified version of Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University for your business. It's going to be very similar, but a little bit different in the fact that I think it's appropriate for you to shave off some percentages for your profit account and your tax account because you want to make sure that you are developing good habits, and you may have gotten led into debt because of bad habits. And so by recreating these habits, you're helping not only to fix your debt by paying it off, but also by being able to have a little bit of savings, a little bit of a cushion there. For me, knowing that that money is going to need to come out, I need to save for it now. So that's something to keep in mind. If you follow the profit first methodology where you are saving certain percentages every month, you can add an extra account. I talked about in that podcast that I have a vault account that I set aside money specifically for those insurance premiums. So if you needed to reduce your percentages on other accounts in order to make a savings account work, you could do that too. I think it's important that you are starting small and you are building good habits. Just like the profit first methodology talks about, you want to start small. So 1%, 2%, 3%. Don't go whole hog and go 25% right out of the gate because you are going to fail and it's going to hurt. And there might even be some tears. So start small. Remember, you have to think about this just like in my previous podcast where I talked about social media. It's building blocks. So you're building, building, building until you have these amazing habits that you developed where you are saving so much money every month. So much money is going into your tithing account. So much money is going into your retirement account. So much money is going into your vault or your savings account. These are things that we're going to focus on long term. This is not a get rich quick scheme. This is not how to have a pile of money in a short amount of time. Nothing like that. This is slow and steady wins the race for sure. As you get better, your habits evolve, you get better at saving, you can increase those percentages. And then pretty soon you are living off of less than what you take home. So the majority of the money, to clarify that a little bit, so the majority of the money is going into savings and you're living on a smaller percentage than you were before. And as you continue to cut those costs, or change your lifestyle so that you're living on less, it will make a huge improvement to your life, as well as a huge improvement to your business. Because all those things that you've been wanting to do, you can now do because you're used to setting money aside for everything. So let's say that you want to take everybody on an annual trip. So for us, we have people that work all over the US, all over the world because people are working for us in different countries. I think it would be amazing to all meet up in one spot, obviously after, the world pandemic is open and the borders are open again, but for all of us to get together for a couple days, see each other in person, hang out with each other. I just think that would be amazing. And that would be a gift to everybody who's worked so hard for us throughout the year. Like that would be an amazing gift to be able to give them. So that could be something that you could set money for aside every single year, knowing that, you're going to take this same trip the same time of the year every year. You could start working on how much is that going to cost? Where are you guys going to go? And setting that money aside ahead of time into a separate savings account. Now, one thing I think is super important is just how my brain works. I know that this is a recommendation from the profit first mentality is that you have separate accounts for every single thing because you keeping track of it in your head or on a spreadsheet is not as effective as looking in that account and seeing the balance. So if you are saving up for something, for example, like I'm saving up for those insurance premiums, to look in that account as it gets closer to September, knowing where I'm at and how much those fees are actually going to be, I might need to bump that up a little bit. I might need to transfer a little bit more every month in order to make it work because inflation or the cost went up or something changed. Being able to adjust is so important. And knowing that that money is available, that I can just transfer it into my checking account so the E&O folks can transfer it out is a huge, huge blessing versus trying to scramble to borrow money from different accounts, different credit cards to try to make it work. Life changing. Life changing when you have been able to set aside the money every single month. Now, one thing that you might be saying is, well, how do I even start doing that? I don't even know what that is. So, what I do is I take the total of whatever it is that you're saving up and I divide it by how many months I have left. So, just came out in September, so I know that I now have 12 months. So I take the new dollar amount that they're going to be charging us, because it might have changed. And I want to build in a little bit of an extra because a lot of times the people that negotiate for us for that insurance, they're not negotiating for 2021's premium right now. They just wrapped up 2020. So there might be a little bit of inflation, the cost might change, things like that. So I want to bump that number up a little bit. So I take that bumped up number, I divide it by however many months I have left, and that's my new percentage to go off of. And then that is what I'm transferring out every single month. Mine happen automatically, and so you could go into your bank and you could make adjustments to those transfers. So instead of it being 175 a month, now it's 185 or whatever the case may be. But the good news is that you're already used to those debits coming out. You're already used to having that amount taken out of your budget. So by just adjusting up by a few dollars, $10 is not going to make a huge difference because you're already used to it. But if I came to you and said, okay, we're going to save for this thing, and now I'm going to need to take 200 bucks out of your checking account every month, you're like, whoa, hang on a second. That's a lot of money. But because I have been doing it slowly over time, that 200 bucks is not going to make a huge difference because it was just 195 last year that I was taking out of my bank account every month. So, do you see how those small adjustments and small tweaks can make a huge, huge impact on your business over a 12-month time period? And the amount of stress and pressure that is taken off of you is huge. Now, here's another thing to keep an eye out, which can be distracting. When you have these separate accounts, the profit first methodology recommends that they're not even in the same bank as your payable account because they don't want you to, for something to pop up and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I need money. I'll borrow from that account. Yeah. I'll pay it back. Because most of the time you never actually end up doing that. So if you are the type of person that has the tendency to do that, it would be very beneficial for you to find a different bank that is completely out of your way, that doesn't have online banking, that is not something that you can transfer out of very easily. You want to make it inconvenient for yourself because eventually your brain will forget that that money's even there until you're like, oh, September is here. I need to transfer that money back because I need to pay my insurance premiums or, whatever the case may be. So those are a couple things to keep in mind when you want to start saving. How to start saving, you want to go in easy, go in small and just get into the habit of doing it because that is what makes a huge difference. These habits of transferring every 10th and 25th, it's a rhythm. And when you get into a rhythm, it becomes less and less difficult to do it.